Hey there, athletes. Coach John Ferry here from Team Wilpers. Excited to welcome you to our Week 6 athlete briefing for both our spring run and half marathon extension challenge. As always, we're going to start with a quick Week 5 review here. We'll start with spring run. So spring run, jump straight into that threshold work to start the week, continuing that progression there, coming back strong after that unload. Key run number 2 was that VO2 max workout. Similarly, returning to our VO2 max progression, returning to a little bit of intensity here this week at that VO2 max pace before we kind of peak that VO2 max progression actually in the week to follow. Half marathoners, we got one final big steady state endurance effort to kickstart the week, and then one final big half marathon interval workout before we kind of go into our little bit of a taper down for race weekend. So the big final half marathon pace workout, big chunky efforts of time spent at race pace. So you absolutely should have left that workout really having nailed down now what that half marathon pace looks like, feels like, and what you'll be trying to jump right into towards the start of your race. Naturally shortening up the long run a little bit here to include this week. Talked last week about leaving that big pace range there. Either way, whether you're on the high end or the short end, absolutely make sure you're taking it very easy effort-wise during this final long run. A little bit of housekeeping. We have our Nashville half marathon weekend coming up here next weekend. It was kind of the conclusion of this 16-week training block. So a couple events that we're kind of finalizing but seem pretty well set on. It's Friday at 4 p.m. We're going to meet in front of the Expo Center there, kind of do a team bib pickup. At 5 p.m. moving to 5th and Broadway Assembly Food Hall, which is about a 5-minute walk away for some kind of light bites and hellos with teammates. Saturdays, there's a lot of different race distances going from the 5K to the marathon. What we had a lot of fun with, a lot of success with at the New York City half was finishing your race, looping back around to the race course and cheering for everyone else still on the course. So I'm not super familiar with Nashville, so I'm gonna have to go do a little reconnaissance on Friday when we get there, but should be roughly somewhere around the 12-mile mark of the half marathon, 17-mile mark of the full marathon. We'll make sure to update that here on the Team Wilpers Running Facebook group. Please come and join so we can, 1, celebrate your finish, 2, cheer on everyone who's still out on the course. And once again, we'll confirm that marker come end of day on Friday. And then finally, around 5 p.m. in the evening, we'll be going to the Ridge for a few post-race cheers and libations. So come take place of all part, some or many. We'd love to see you down in Nashville here in the week ahead. So now let's jump into our Week 6 workout. So we're going to start with the Spring Run Challenge, who's going into another threshold workout here. So there's another extension of our max interval. There's another extension of time and zone here. So we're starting to really get into the bulk of these workouts, if you will, in the second half of this 8-week block here. So you should certainly be feeling challenged, but the workouts should continue to remain manageable and doable as well. Definitely practicing getting a little bit uncomfortable and holding that uncomfortable pace for an extended period of time. VO2 max, key workout number 2. So we're actually reaching the peak of this VO2 max progression here this week. So in week 7, we will have kind of a similar style of VO2 max workout, but this is actually kind of our peak VO2 max with these 4-minute intervals here. Another reminder, I know I've brought this up before, but this is a pace you should be able to hold for roughly 12 minutes at maximum. So 4 minutes, although it's beginning to be a pretty lengthy interval, should be very much in your wheelhouse to hold this for 4 minutes, especially with a pretty lengthy recovery also. So just know this is a controlled pace, one that I know you could go for a little bit longer. You know, I've talked in the past some of the pros and cons about the 20-minute test. Absolutely in the pro column is it gives us a very accurate pace in and around this zone. So I know it's something that you can do for probably 12 minutes. You just have to do it 4 minutes at a time. It's no big deal. Half marathoners, kick-starting the week with a progression run. If you've been around for a while, I love coming into a race week or a test week with a progression run. Really nice way to kind of get kick-started, get one final opportunity to feel out some of those paces a little bit. Love in a race week, finishing that first key workout of the week by starting slow, finishing stronger, hopefully walking away with a lot of confidence there. So you definitely want to run controlled in this workout. Make sure not to overshoot those paces. You don't want to do too much here in the days leading into the race. So start nice and easy. It'd be better to be a little bit under tempo than over tempo. Make sure you don't overshoot that race pace, end up in a threshold workout, not the ambition to start the week. Key run number 2, short endurance run, inclusive of a few strides in there. We're in kind of a full taper mode by this point. Once you're really pulling back, keeping it nice and easy. The old metaphorical goose is cooked at this point, if you will. All we're trying to do is stay active, prevent any sort of minor detraining in the days leading into the race. So no need to be a workout hero on this kind of Wednesday workout. You want to really dial this thing back. And our final key run of the week is our race day. It's, for many of you, 16 weeks in the making, starting at the top of January to get here. So hopefully will be a lot of fun. Just a couple kind of pre-race reminders for all people, which is, I'm a huge advocate of making sure you get to the race early enough where you can get settled and be relaxed at the top. I see it all the time of people getting in too late, trying to get through, especially in big city races, through security, through bag check, through corrals closing. Make sure to allow yourself plenty of time to be comfortable at the race start. In addition to that, make sure you're doing your mobilizations. It's very, very challenging and to kind of go from fully cold to fully active at the top of a race. Go through those mobilizations, make sure your body is prepared to move. Similarly, if you can, take some time to really warm up. Spend 10, 15, 20 minutes moving very, very lightly. Include some strides to start opening up that stride length a little bit. All things that will kind of help you be more successful at the top of the race. Speaking of the top of the race, just a couple little tips here. Be patient at the top of your race. Especially in big city races, those corrals are packed. It's sometimes hard to really work through the crowd at the top. The last thing we want you to do is spend too much energy running too far, trying to navigate, trying to find a line there in mile 1. There's still 12 and a 10th mile to go. So be relaxed, take it easy. It's okay if that first mile is under pace. As a matter of fact, it kind of goes to that point of having a bit of an extended warm up there at the top. Then really what I'm hoping for most people is by the second mile marker that they're really kind of settling in and finding their stride. But make sure not to overextend yourself early in the race there. The most important thing for a race, especially of this distance, because unless you're running something with incredible hills or topographical kind of anomalies, it really should be a steady state effort. Potentially, you could negative split if you pace it really well, but otherwise we're looking for really even with just small incremental ups or downs over the course of the race. So the most important advice I can give you is to go out there, have a lot of fun. As I mentioned, it was 16 weeks of work to get to this point, to put yourself in a position to go give a fun, hard effort. So have fun out there and enjoy it. Let's jump into a couple questions that came up here. So first question was, any tips for overcoming pre-race jitters? I'm wondering if that's the cause of my super high heart rate during pre-race warm-ups. I figure run more races as part of the advice. I'm doing that and treating them as B or C races, but still seeing a crazy heart rate. Of course, I was late to the last race, which didn't help. Could some of that be I'm not used to running quite that early, and that is impacting it? So there are a couple different things that could go in here. Being late certainly can make a difference, as kind of as I was talking about. Caffeine intake in combination with its proximity to your race could make a difference if you're a morning coffee drinker. And the best advice is to run more races, which you kind of said. A little bit too late for the upcoming weekend, obviously, but to practice not only racing and being uncomfortable and pushing yourself on that capacity, but what time do you get up? When do you need to leave the house? What do you have for breakfast? What are the things that work for you, etc.? Those are things you really only find out through going through the process here. So that's why running the races is so important. Elevated heart rate, however, especially at the top of races, is not uncommon, and there are some things you can kind of do to work around that, however. So, and the reason, kind of traditionally at least, that heart rate can spike on a lot of people at the top is you're really taking, I'll kind of refer to it sometimes as a body at rest and turning it into a body at motion. So you got to get fully fired up. Your heart rate is lower, blood is going to stomach, brain, etc., all these areas that of kind of natural living. When you go into your run, it's shifting. Blood is then moving to your major muscles. It's going to your respiratory system to power that run. And it takes more energy at the top of your run to get those systems started. It will steady off. So the best way to avoid, if you're experiencing big heart rate spikes at the top of your workouts, is longer warm-up periods. So jogging 10, 15, 20, maybe even 30 minutes, depending upon your miles, at a very, very light effort to allow your body to warm up in advance of jumping right into the race. As part of that warm-up, I would absolutely include some strides where you're really kind of pushing your heart rate a little bit, allowing it to have that spike, and then backing off a lot, allowing it to settle back down. And doing that kind of 6 to 10 times of push and relax and push and relax. Ultimately, you're trying to go through, get your body primed to perform, maybe something that would naturally have to happen in the first stages of the race without having that huge heart rate spike at the top of your event. Otherwise, if you're late for the race in this scenario, you're coming in, don't have the opportunity. Once again, big city races, sometimes it's really hard to find that kind of time to run. Your best course of action is to start much slower. So for easy math, if you're a 10-minute miler in the half marathon, starting maybe as slow as 11 or 12 minutes a mile at the beginning, really allow your body to acclimate to the effort, slowly elevate the heart rate. And once again, by hopefully that 2-mile marker, you can really settle then into the rest of the race. There's still 9 1/10 miles to go. So there's rephrase. There's still 11 1/10 mile to go. So there's a lot of running to follow. Don't worry about losing a little bit of pace early. Our next question here is, I'm running the 10K in Nashville next weekend, planning on racing it a little bit. I'd like to use threshold run as kind of my strategy and also use the 10K to sub for that workout. Is that okay? So I'm going to go in reverse order here. So first of all, if you're racing next weekend, and let's say in this scenario, using the spring run training plan to get ready for those races, then yes, it's absolutely okay to use the race and the weekend as one or both of the kind of midweek key workouts, especially the threshold workout because the energy zone is fairly compatible. So if you wanted to switch it in this way, doing the VO2 max workout, maybe top of the week, then backing it down using the kind of 30-minute endurance run from the half marathon programs, that kind of second run of the week sets up for a nice strong effort, hopefully on the weekend. However, I would absolutely not advise running the 10K as an interval workout. I would recommend finding a pace that you could sustain from start to finish of this race. So for the 10K in particular, sometimes it's a little bit tricky to find pace on that one. And if you remember us kind of talking about threshold in the past, we talked about sometimes that's the pace you can hold for 1 hour at maximum when well trained. So if you're a 10K with an estimated finish time under an hour, it really is a threshold or above threshold race. So maybe starting at threshold, moving a little bit above threshold, the faster the pace, you move towards your VO2 max pace a little bit more, but it's going to settle in between that zone somewhere. If your estimated finish time for a 10K is over an hour, you're going to be a sub-threshold effort. So it's going to be between, let's say, threshold, half marathon pace, etc. You need to find some pace in and around there. Similar question on the 5K. With 5K, most likely going to be somewhere in between your threshold and VO2 max pace, because unlikely that 5K time gets to that 1 hour duration. So going back to it, I would not recommend using an interval style structure to run this race unless you're a walk runner and that's kind of your plan by design. What I would do is try to find that pace that you can hold steady from start to finish, because a lot of times that best time comes more as a result of how little can you slow down over the course of time as opposed to how much you can speed up. So no interval workouts in the scope of a race. Go out, pick a pace that feels sustainable, have fun with it. This is a challenge, push yourself and enjoy the day. Well, friends, that is it for week 6 here. Can't wait to see so many of you down in Nashville next week. Have an amazing weekend. Talk to you soon.